Good morning, folks. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, marking the 500th day of the invasion of his country by Russia, his visit to Snake Island, and something a little bit more significant about that seems to be missed by the corporate press. We're going to talk about the Tulsa Race Massacre, the state superintendent for and state superintendent of education in Oklahoma, a guy by the name of Ryan Walters, just proclaimed that they won't be teaching that race was part of the Tulsa Race Massacre. We'll dig into that, what the Tulsa Race Massacre is. A lot of people don't know what it is. We're going to dig into that today, as well as some talk on Russia. A lot of people have been asking the question, what's next? What's going to happen if Putin falls? How likely is that to happen? We're going to dig into that, and I'm going to stick my neck out and make a prediction. I hate to do that because if you're wrong, then no matter how likely your prediction was to become true, if it doesn't come true, you catch hell for it. But I'm going to stick my neck out and do it. But let's get at it. Go fill your cups, grab a pen and pad, and let's do this. Be ready for the roundtable at the end of the show. It's going to be a good one. Morning, folks. I'm glad you can be with me. It's looks like it's going to be a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I hope the weather's fantastic where you're at. You have to forgive me. My beard's not cooperating today. It's going to be a little crazy, but hey, that's all right. Let's talk about what's going on in the news. We just had a big milestone pass. You remember the invasion of Ukraine was supposed to be 3 days long. Well, we just passed the 500th day of that 3-day invasion. If you remember, the day the Russian invasion started, we had an event happen that set the tone for what this was going to be like. There's an island off south and east of Odessa, Ukraine. It's in the western Black Sea, known as today as Snake Island. It was approached by first a Russian corvette, by the name of the Vasily Baikov. If you're not familiar with naval terms, you've got a corvette is a smaller, fast attack boat. It's designed it's got a shallower draft. It can operate in shallower waters. It's a smaller boat. Then above that, you've got a frigate, and then above that, you've got a destroyer, and then above that, you've got a cruiser. Above that would be a battleship in size. Modern technology has kind of turned all of that on its head. You don't see battleships anymore. The cruiser is the big independent boat that can travel on its own and do its own thing. The corvette usually travels within coastal waters. You don't see it much out uh, unless it's part of an armada. Um, and destroyers are the main class that you see operating. But today we're going to be talking about the Vasily Baikov, um, which was the first boat to reach Snake Island, when the invasion of Ukraine happened. The first invasion of Ukraine back in 2014, when the Russians took Sevastopol, the Black Sea port of Sevastopol, which was so crucial to them because it's where their Black Sea fleet is headquartered. The Ukrainian troops did not fight back. They didn't fight back. They were able to sweet talk them out of Sevastopol and offer them bribes and whatnot, and the Ukrainian military took it. When the Vasily Baikov reached Snake Island, they assumed, much like the Russian leadership did, that this invasion of Ukraine was going to be similar to what happened in 2014, and boy, could they have not been more wrong. The Vasily Baikov initiated conversations with the defenders of Snake Island, and needless to say, were rejected. They were then joined by the Russian missile cruiser Moskva, which was the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet, and ironically, was later sunk by two Ukrainian Neptune cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, not far from Snake Island. Frustrated by the defenders of Snake Island's unwillingness to surrender, the Moskva opened up communications, which has become a famous exchange, which the defenders uh, took to the radio on the International Distress Channel in this communication and told the Russian warship to go F themselves. That set the tone for what we were looking at as far as the invasion of Ukraine was concerned. There was another event that happened during the invasion that set the tone for things, is when the Russians rolled into Mariupol, which is a vital city for holding the Crimean Peninsula. There was a steel plant there called the Azovstal steel plant, and it has facilities that are built into it to resist attack. It has underground bunkers that are actually built to survive a nuclear attack. This was very much known to be a military significant target, and it was hardened. And the Ukrainian defenders held out there until May 20th. The initial invasion was on February 24th. They held out for till May 20th. Much just extremely frustrating the Russians. This you have to understand, their whole plan was shock and awe. Their entire whole everything was relied upon the Ukrainians being completely blown away by what was happening and throwing their hands up and surrendering. What the defenders, the Azovstal steel plant defenders did was completely destroy that narrative. After they were taken, like I said, they held out until May 20th. After they were taken prisoner, they were treated pretty brutally until a prisoner swap was arranged. And this is the part that's just missed most. We have Zelenskyy here, and I'll play the video for you. Stay with me, folks. It's under 2 minutes, but it's a great video. It's from Alexander Vindman, the American hero Alexander Vindman, that stood his ground and refused to allow Ukraine to be blackmailed by Donald Trump. He shared this on his Twitter account. excellent video. Let's take a look at it. Giving us some difficulty. Give me 1 second to get this straightened out. Well, it's not going to play. Oh well. Basic gist of it that I wanted you to see was that I can't express to you how important it is in a conflict like this, the way your leadership acts and what they do. Volodymyr Zelenskyy jumped into an inflatable, a Zodiac, a big Zodiac, and traveled into the Black Sea where the Ukraine has no navy. Traveled 20 miles out into the Black Sea to Snake Island. Couldn't fly because they would have shown up on radar and likely have been destroyed. Um, Traveled through the night to reach Snake Island at dawn on an inflatable and carried flowers to the marker the Ukrainians have set up to praise the heroism of the defenders of Snake Island, and gave an amazing, heartfelt, uplifting speech for his people. And it was amazing. It was amazing. But since I couldn't show you that, let me try to pull this up. It won't take me but a second. I'm going to have to punch a few keys. Stay with me. That wasn't the actual most significant thing that happened. This was. There we go. I've got it for you. All right, let's share this. This was the most significant thing to happen as we mark the 500th day of the invasion of Ukraine. This is driving Russia insane. The Russian spokesman for uh, Putin is absolutely raging today to every reporter that will listen to him. The significance of this is incredible. And what you're seeing here is Volodymyr Zelenskyy went to Istanbul, Turkey last week and met with Erdogan. And if you've been paying any attention to geopolitical politics, you know that Erdogan is, while he is in NATO and an ally, he is problematic. Turkey is problematic. They do not go along with everything that NATO wants to do, particularly in regards to Russia. They have a warm relationship with Russia. They're both on the Black Sea. Erdogan does a lot of business with Russia. But that image was huge. And here's why. Russia returned the Azovstal defenders to Ukraine, but not to Ukraine. They sent them to Turkey with the understanding that they would not be repatriated to Ukraine while this conflict was going on. That was the deal. They traded for their freedom, but they would not be allowed to return to Ukraine. And Erdogan gave them to Zelenskyy, and Zelenskyy took them home. That is huge, folks. That is huge. That is Turkey outright bucking Russia and signaling to the entire world that they are absolutely 100% not towing the line with Russia any longer. They're 100% telling the world that Russia is weak, and they know it, and they have nothing to fear from Russia at this point. That was an incredible shot across the bow to Putin. That was a wake-up call for the Russians, and good Lord, are they raging today. Again, to any news outlet that will listen to them, and they are absolutely raging. Moving on, we've also got an update. You remember there was discussed last week the cats in Poland uh, that had contracted H1N1 bird flu. They are there's been an update, and I wanted to give you a little bit of information. This is a scientist at the University of Krakow in Poland. His name is Christoph Pierce. If you want to follow him on Twitter, this is his Twitter page. You're going to have to do a translate. He here is linking um, information from the European Center for Disease Control. I've got the link here directly from them. I'd like to read it to you. It's the latest update with the Polish guys. We're if you don't know, there's been a lot of fear as to what's been happening with bird flu in Poland. Several cats had come up with bird flu, which does not transmit well in mammals, and it appears to be spreading all over Poland. What we've learned is they went back and they tested the food that these cats were eating, and found that in one case, and they were able to retrieve food that was still existing from when these cats were taken. They couldn't test it for all of them because of time. In at least one instance, the food was tainted with bird flu. The meat that they were feeding the cat was tainted with bird flu. And they're thinking that may have been the source. It's speculation at this point because, one sample with, over 50 cats dying, it's not definitely not significant, but what they're finding out when they're looking at the genome of the bird flu in these cats is that no, it does not appear to be a variety that has mutated to be more effective in spreading among mammals, which is amazing news. It is fantastic news. Let me read to you what the CDC has said about what we've learned so far. Several uncertainties currently exist regarding the source of the infection, the potential of feline to feline and feline to human transmission of the particular AAH5N1 influenza virus strain, as well as regarding the severity of the disease. Taking into consideration the information and genomic data available until now, and the fact that no human cases have been reported so far related to this event, and that's critical, folks. This is not spread to humans, which is amazing news. And like I said, they've taken a look at the genome of this particular virus, and it does not appear to have mutated to be. We have different tissue in our lungs than cats do, or chickens, or virus. The avian flu does not transmit well to humans. It just doesn't. It hasn't mutated at that point. That was the big fear within this, is that it had mutated and was something that was effective at spreading within mammals, within cats, and um, turns out not to be the case. I mean, we dodged a big one there. Let me finish. The ECDC, that's the European Centers for Disease Control, assesses the current risks to the general public as low. However, the risk is considered moderate for persons exposed to sick and or dead cats, especially immunocompromised good lord, immunocompromised people. So that's the good news, folks. That's the good news. They've taken a look at what we know, and this isn't the one. Thank God. Thank God. We were very, very scared, tracking this very closely. Just want you to, take a deep breath. No big deal. My advice still holds. Go ahead and grab you a couple boxes of masks. Grab you over the next few months, grab you a couple boxes of gloves. Put them away in the closet, and that way you won't be fighting for PPE. Good. Oh, I am so tongue tied today. When something like this happens, because it will eventually. It will. We know it. That's why they study zoonotic diseases, but we are lucky. I found a picture for you of Zelenskyy greeting the Azovstal defenders. That's a little bit better picture I wanted to share with you. Look at that man's face. Look at the pride. I mean, he's been tortured and abused at the hands of the Russians, and look how proud he is to be meeting his president. A lot has been said about the Azov battalion. A lot of nonsense about their Nazis and this, that, and the other. But those are brave men. Those were brave men. They were truly brave men, and you can tell they're very proud. I have a picture here for you also. Sorry to be moving back and forth like this, folks. This is the Moskva. This is what they were facing. And you have to understand during that exchange on Snake Island, it it was hell. This ship rained hell on them until they were forced to surrender. And like I said, ironically, that ship was sunk not far from Snake Island. Um, and it's hard to I can't overstate to you the just how critical that island is. I mean, historically, it's always been critical. You can go back to the Greeks. The Greeks, this is the island in their mythology when Achilles was killed at Troy. That this is the island that supposedly his spirit went to. Him and Patroclus got their happily ever after living on Snake Island. I mean, this island is a big deal. World War One, World War II. There are shipwrecks all around this island. It is a incredibly significant piece of real estate, and to see Volodymyr Zelensky back on it at this point is amazing. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this story that's breaking. We've got this genius. His name's Ryan Walters. Ryan Walters is the state superintendent of education in Oklahoma. He's the top boss. And old Ryan Walters here says that they are not going to teach that the Tulsa Race Massacre, well, that's important there, that's called a race massacre, had anything to do with race. I'm not kidding, folks. I'm not even kidding. Now, the Tulsa Race Massacre is not taught in schools, so I'm assuming there are folks that don't know what we're talking about. Back in the 1920s, there was a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was a highly affluent African American neighborhood called Greenwood. It was later given the moniker Black Wall Street. It was the home to several I mean, thousands, thousands of African Americans, and it was booming. It was highly affluent. I mean, there were restaurants, there were savings and loans, there were theaters in Greenwood, there were, uh, billiard halls, cafes, boarding houses, apartment buildings. There was a newspaper that, ironically, led to the Tulsa Race Massacre that was on Greenwood Avenue. And, I've gotta tell you folks, this to say that this was not race related, and he's doubled down on the comments. He made these comments when he was talking to the Cleveland County Republicans, and then when called out about it, he said, "Oh, no, to teach," and this will just give you some idea how insane this man is. He says, "To teach children that they need to be embarrassed or that, they're responsible for this. Well, that's CRT, and we don't teach CRT." Well, first of all, who's teaching any kids today they're responsible for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre? This shows you where this man's head is, what his psyche is, how insane he is, that is his position. And to call it CRT, that's idiocy. This man is a moron, and he's in charge of Tulsa, or pardon me, Oklahoma statewide education. I mean, it's pathetic. It is beyond pathetic. And folks, here's why. Okay, the Tulsa Race Massacre started with the arrest of a young man by the name of Dick Rowland. He was 19 years old at the time. He was an athletic young man, um, very tall. He was hardworking. He ran a shoe shine booth in one of the billiard halls and also worked at running deliveries. He was making a delivery in the Drexel building and he got on the elevator. And by his own admission, he touched the arm when he got on the elevator. He touched the arm of a young white woman, 16-year-old white woman named Sarah Page. And we don't know exactly what happened there, but the accounts given by the local paper, the Tulsa Tribune, are insane. They report that the woman screamed and that a clerk in the building ran to save her, and that Dick Rowland had been clawing her face and ripping at her clothes, trying to rape her. I can't stress to you how insane that account is. And it was later attributed to the local police giving a rookie reporter information that led to that report coming out. There's no reality to it. The clerk never reported anything like that. Sarah Page never reported anything like that to the grand jury. And the elevator, think back, this is the 1920s. You remember elevators in the 1920s? They were not enclosed like they are now. This is not a modern elevator. The kind with the slide open grate, and there's just all there are, steel bars on the outside of this was an open elevator. You're telling me in the middle of a busy business office building, the Drexel building, full of people, that this man, yeah, exactly, Angela. They were cages. That's all they were. It was just cages. That this man tried to rape a woman. And he was from an affluent family. I mean, he worked hard on his own. He was 19 years old, had his own shoe shine booth. He was getting his education. He worked hard. But his family, they owned a building in Greenwood. They owned a hotel. an apartment building and a hotel. You're telling me that you actually believe this? No, nobody believed it. Nobody believed it. But the story presented by the Tulsa Tribune was insane. They gave him the moniker Diamond Dick. And they called for people to basically come lynch him. They called for lynch mobs. And the people of Greenwood, again, highly educated, affluent, successful area, the African American people that lived in Greenwood said, "No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We are telling you right now that we are not going to do that. We're not going to have a lynching in this neighborhood, damn it. We didn't build this to have a lynching, to have our people treated the way they've always been treated. That is not going to happen this time." And they armed themselves. This triggered every racist and gave the cops the excuse they had been looking for. And they assaulted and destroyed Greenwood. There have been reports as many as 300 people brutally murdered. There were just brutal murders. I'm not going to count them all. They were just horrific. There were 1,400 homes burned. 1,400 homes and business burned, and 10,000 people left homeless. I've got some images for you from Greenwood. This is a old black and white photo of Greenwood. I mean, it was a happening place. I mean, you could look at this and if I just showed you this picture, you could think this was Chicago. You could think that this was New York. I mean, you see the construction in the background. There's still, I mean, it's just a vibrant, busy. I could tell you, I could have told you this was Little Italy in New York, and you'd have believed it. That's what Greenwood looked like. We got another image here that I would really like to invite you after the show that you go take a look at so that you understand what we're talking about. The New York Times has this amazing 3D interactive of what Greenwood looked like. This is just the main street. This is just Greenwood Avenue. But they went back and reconstructed it. And you can scroll in. You can scroll in. They've got explanations. More than 70 businesses operated in 1, 2, and 3-story brick buildings, and they give you the names of the business: Byers and Anderson Tailors, Little Rose Beauty Salon, uh, RT Bridgewater Physician. There were several physicians and dentists on Greenwood Avenue. You had a confectionery, Williams's Confectionery, Economy Drugs and Rooming House, CL Netherland Barber, tons of barbers, several barbers, Palace Barber Shop. Barber shops at the time were that was the mark of an affluent area. If you had people that could provide those kind of services, especially if you had a lot of them, it was the mark of an affluent area. You had PJ Eldridge's restaurant, the Brunswick Pool Hall, Bell and Little Cafe. And as you move down, I mean, this is amazing. I invite you to go take a look at it. It gives you the names of all of these. The Quaquad cigar store, the Dixie Theater. You had another tailor shop, another clothing store, Elliott and Hooker Clothing, the Little Pullman Cafe, the Tulsa Star, which contributed to this, ironically, Cane's Cafe, Red Wing Drugstore. You get the idea. You can see a full 3D interactive of what this place looked like before the massacre. Let me pull up an image for you what it looked like after. Hang with me, folks. This won't take a second. I would have normally had this available. There are several images that are available to you if you'd like to take a look. This is Greenwood Avenue. I just showed you the 3D interactive. This is Greenwood Avenue afterwards. They burned it to the ground. Racists just burned it to the ground. And we don't teach this in school. How many of you in chat ever heard, until you were an adult, ever heard about the Tulsa Race Massacre? 10,000 people were left homeless. And the murders were brutal. And yes, they were white mobs doing this. And Ryan Walters, the top dog when it comes to education in Oklahoma, says that's CRT if you teach that it's white mobs killing black folks out of racism. Well, what the hell else are you going to teach? This makes no sense whatsoever. None whatsoever. It's insanity, folks. That's the kind of insanity that is ruling Republicans to this day. They don't want a little white kid today to feel guilty about the Tulsa Race Massacre. What? What? Why would a kid in school today feel guilty about the Tulsa Race Massacre? They just don't want little white kids today taught that, things like this happen. Racism is real and it's not right. And this is what it looks like. That's what they don't want. They don't want that this is what it looks like. This is how wrong it is. They don't want to teach that. And it's sick. Teach your children, folks. Teach your children so they ask questions in school and they can't keep this information away. Moving on, folks. A lot of people have asked me the question, what happens? Is Putin going to fall? Likelihood, yes, he is. The last time we had a mutiny like this in Russia, well, just about every time we have a mutiny like this in Russia, very quickly they have a change of leadership. And you've got Yevgeny Prigozhin parading around Russia. He was supposedly, I know why he's in Russia. I know what Putin's doing. I know Putin's taking his assets back from Prigozhin. But I want you to think about what kind of an admission that is by Putin to tell his people on one day, Yevgeny Prigozhin will be banished. He will never be allowed in Russia again. And then now you've got Yevgeny Prigozhin just walking around Moscow. Supposedly exiled. Exactly. He was supposed to be exiled. No, apparently he's not. He's just freely walking around Russia while Putin tries to get all of his assets that he had Prigozhin steal for him, mainly in Africa, back under Putin's control. Think about how weak that makes Putin look, and it's showing. Putin is just wildly supported in Russia, and that is evaporating daily. What Putin looks like in Russia right now is the equivalent of what Ron DeSantis looks like in America now. A couple months ago, people talked about Ron DeSantis like he was inevitable. And now they talk about him like he's a freak. I mean, he just looks like a freak all the time. I mean, you've seen the pictures of him. He just looks weak, stupid, and like a freak. Just weird. Just weird. That's what Putin is looking like now in Russia. It does not play well to the Russian people when their leader stands up one day and says, "Yes, I have put this revolution down. I've put this mutiny down." He called it a mutiny, and Prigozhin will be banished from Russia. And then a week later, Prigozhin is all over the news in Russia on Russian news, walking around in St. Petersburg, going back to his home, picking up about $100 million worth of rubles, parading around Moscow. So yeah, my my I'm going to stick my neck out here and make some predictions. Typically, they last, like I said, when this happened to Gorbachev, he lasted 4 months. He lasted 4 months. And that leads people to ask the question, who's next? I have a prediction on that. There are several people it could be, but I have a prediction on who it is most likely to be, and it's this guy right here. Sitting across from Putin there is a guy by the name of Andrei Vorobyov. He's the current governor of the Moscow Oblast or Moscow province, like a state. He's the governor of the state around Moscow. He's got a little bit about his history and why I think he's going to end up being the guy. If you remember all of this going back, Prigozhin immediately changed his tone. And this is one of the reasons that Prigozhin did not move into the Moscow Oblast region. He didn't, is because of Andrei Vorobyov. Prigozhin said this was a mutiny against Sergei Shoigu and Vasily Gerasimov. He said that was his target. Well, Andrei Vorobyov is a longtime ally of Shoigu. Shoigu has immense power in Russia. Shoigu is the platform in which Putin sits. In this conflict, Putin had to make a choice. I've got my pirate that is making me fabulously wealthy, stealing minerals in, the Middle East and Africa, Syria, etc. Or I've got Sergei Shoigu, who is the reason I stay alive. Shoigu and Vorobyov are close, very close. Vorobyov used to be the governor of Moscow Oblast or the Moscow province before Vorobyov. Vorobyov was his protege. And he's got a long political history, folks. I mean, he served in the Duma. The Duma is kind of the equivalent of our House of Representatives. It's the lower house in the Russian government. He actually, couple things, he was the director of the Central Executive Committee of the United Russia Party, the most power. They were the most powerful party in the Duma at the time. He was the first deputy of the State Duma. He's fabulously wealthy. He started his family's business. They started in actually fishing. Their company was called Russian Sea when it was first started. And just as testimony to how tight his relationship is with Shoigu, the moment that he started his company, Russian Sea. One of the first contracts he got was with the Russian military, which was brokered by Shoigu. They go way back, folks. His brother Maxim Vorobyov is I guess continental would be the best word. If you're familiar with London at all, it's picked up the nickname Londongrad. I appreciate the support, Keith. I really do. I really do appreciate the support. London has picked up the moniker Londongrad because so many wealthy Russians have moved to London. Maxim Vorobyov's wife had a posh toy and furniture, children's furniture store in Chelsea. And when I say posh, an example would be I was reading about one of the news reports on Vorobyov's wife. Um, they sell things like they had a painted horse with a handmade saddle, all handcrafted, high end stuff. Handcrafted saddle, hand woven bridle. It sold for 10,000 pounds, folks. I mean, these are fabulously wealthy people. They own apartments in Paris. I can't stress to you enough how well connected Vorobyov is. His family is. This is not like Putin. Putin came up. He was a poor guy. He was a KGB employee that turned political in St. Petersburg. Was a protege of Boris Yeltsin. When Boris Yeltsin collapsed, Putin took over. This is one of the reasons, and the reason Putin took over is the same reason I believe Vorobyov is going to take over, because Putin assured Yeltsin a soft landing. Yeltsin assured Gorbachev a soft landing. I don't, if you follow geopolitical politics, Gorbachev was around making money for years until he died. He was well protected. He would, you would think that if you had a revolution that or a rebellion that toppled a government, that there would be prosecutions and things like that. That tends not to be what happens in Russia, because the powers that be don't want bloody massacres. And when Putin falls, it will be Andrei Vorobyov, in my humble opinion, that is there to make sure Putin gets a soft landing, gets to take his wealth and move on. Putin will have to pay a tax. He'll have to give some of the money back to Russia. That's the way it always works. But Putin will retire and live a fabulous life, well protected from all of the war crimes charges that he's facing because of Andrei Vorobyov. And when things do hit the fan, Vorobyov has Shoigu. Shoigu is the head of their military. He's the defense minister in Russia right now. He's arguably the most powerful minister in Russia right now. So that's why, folks, I believe that Andrei Vorobyov, you ask me all the time, what's next, what's next, what's next? To me, that's what's next. So anyways, we're running short on time, folks. Let's go ahead and move to the roundtable discussion. There have been amazing comments I've been reading in the comments section. If you've got any questions or any comments you'd like to make, please bring them up, and we'll move to our roundtable discussion. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I've tried to make this one as informative as possible. Yeah, you can pay to be the president of Russia. Thank you. But because somebody always good to see you, hello. Always good to see you. Forgive the pregnant pause. I'm reading a few comments. I want to pull up some questions and good comments. Shoot them out there in chat. And folks, that's the best reason to be in YouTube or Twitch is to get into the live chat. Who do you think will run for Russian president in 2024? like I just said, it's going to be another lifetime presidency kind of situation, although it's not Putin's lifetime, but it'll be Rabia. It'll be for Rabia. Zika 99, good question. Why isn't healthcare and education considered part of national security? It is insane that it is not. It is insane that it is not. And the answer is capitalism. I'm going to be honest with you. It's capitalism. And folks, thank you for admin flag. I'm going to kill this admin flag girl. Admin flag girl. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Yay, Texas Polo's on Threads. Let's talk about Threads for just a minute. If you're not on Twitter because you don't like how nasty it is and this, that, and the other, Threads has been amazing. I'm not a huge Mark Zuckerberg fan. I am not. I've wrapped his knuckles a lot for the things that his company has done. But I will tell you this: he has gotten Threads right so far. Are there right wingers on Threads? Absolutely, absolutely. Do I see them? No, I do not. Not unless somebody links what they're saying. Because thank you for the support, Angela. I really appreciate that. You have no idea. This has to pay for itself or I can't keep doing it. And you guys are keeping the lights on. I really appreciate that, Angela. But what I was saying about Threads, Twitter, Elon Musk just had this agenda. It was insane. He kept pushing, the balancing the algorithm so that your For You page on Twitter was flooded with right wing, nasty garbage and disinformation. They did it on purpose. They forced you to see this stuff. That does not happen on Threads. You see the algorithm. There is no For You page. It's all for you because you have to choose what you see. You get information from the people that you follow and the information they share, and that's it. It is, I cannot tell you how pleasant it is. Everybody makes this comment. Threads is so much better. And it is because I use Twitter as a source of information. There were a lot of really great journalists that would post on Twitter, but I had to sort through all of the garbage and the crap. I don't have to do that on Threads, folks. I don't. I can follow them, get the information that I'm wanting. And it's wonderful. It is wonderful. And I'm not going to rave forever on it, but I'm going to suggest to you, if you haven't, try it. It's only available on the mobile version right now. It's only available for your phone. You have to. There's another app called Threads out there. Don't install that one. Look for Instagram Threads. Download the app and come see me. I'm under. You can find me as Texas Paul Schroeder on Threads. Come see me. Follow me there. Gloria, thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for the support. I appreciate you keeping the lights on. Exactly, Angela. Thank you. If you can't support monetarily, if you can't support monetarily, support by clicking the like button. That, I mean, not everybody, I'm not here, not everybody can or wants to, but I appreciate those that do contribute. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Kathy, I appreciate that very much. But the important thing is us talking, you being here and you spreading this message. That's the important part. Monetary is second. Thank you. I mean, it keeps the lights on, but that's, you just being here is enough, folks. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the support. I'm looking for some good comments here. Everything's flying by so quickly. Yes, we see you. We see you. Sherry Foster, if all the indictments keep cropping up for Donald Trump, He may wind up in court for the rest of his life. Yeah, he's gonna wind up in jail for the rest of his life, folks. I appreciate the support, Foggy. He's gonna wind up in jail for the rest of his life. He's gonna be in court, for a good I mean, the trials will wrap up by the end of next year. There will be civil trials on top of that, but those will come from prison. He will die in prison. I know there's a lot of people that believe that he's gonna get light treatment and whatnot, but folks, a country can't survive. I mean, it's insane that somebody that tried to initiate a coup is still walking free in our country, and I understand the desire to want to not appear to be a you know, one of those brutal fascist countries that attacks political opponents. I understand that. But this is beyond ridiculous that that man is still walking around our country free, holding rallies, for God's sakes. Put him in jail already. Veggie Owl Girl, at Janine Rudy, I am considering it, but this is responding to a comment, but I may stay and fight. Then again, Jewish people stayed in Germany. How dangerous will it be? This is not Germany. While there are parallels, while there are parallels, we are not those people. Germany did not have a this type of factional battle going on. And the strongest faction, us, the liberals, the left, are openly attacking the right. And we are, yes, we're utilizing the democratic system at this point, but believe me, if it all goes bad, we will be fighting. We will be fighting. This will not be Germany 2.0. Linda Blanton, can we hold Russia accountable for environmental damage done not just to Ukraine, but to the world? There will be lawsuits, and there will be, in order to repeal sanctions, they will have to, it will all be political. But yeah, they'll be held accountable to some extent. To full extent, no, because in the end of the day, in the desire for peace, they'll be given deference. As much as I hate it, but I won't lie to you, they will. But that's how it will happen. In order to repeal sanctions, they will have to pay fines and do cleanups and et cetera. That's the way it always works. Lena Caruso, I think it's equally important to lock up senators and representatives. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone involved needs to pay. If they don't, we're just inviting it to happen again. Look how bold Republicans are. Look how bold Republicans are right now. It's insane. I called this one. Y'all may know down in Bear County, the sheriff down there initiated an investigation on the folks that Ron DeSantis duped and sent up to Martha's Vineyards. And by the way, a little update on those folks. The folks that got sent up to Martha's Vineyards, Martha's Vineyard is a blue bastion. It is. That's why they were sent up there, to try to show them liberals. Well, guess what? Republicans may not have given a damn what happened to these people, but the people that of Martha's Vineyard did. These people are prospering, folks. They have jobs, homes. They've been, those that didn't want to stay have been relocated to places where they have jobs and homes, and it is fantastic. It is fantastic. But what Lisa's talking about is that the sheriff down in San Antonio took a close look at what was involved in those people being tricked onto those buses, had declared that, yeah, that's human trafficking and kidnapping. And he referred charges to the district attorney. And yeah, those charges are actually coming. Kevin, sorry for boring you guys with my slippers and my cat, but hope the joke was on me. Don't worry. Kevin, cats are always welcome. Crystal Nova, Trump will only end up in prison for life if the Supreme Court doesn't kiss his hiney and let him off. Um, no way this makes it to the Supreme Court. No way. He'll try to appeal it, but you have to have grounds to appeal, and he has no grounds. That's why I say Jack Smith, just the charges he's filed, everybody wanted more. Everybody wanted it to be fancier and to dig in more, to have more jail time. Everybody wanted more. But the charges he filed are so simple and straightforward. There is no arguing it. And I mean, God bless him for doing it. I thank you for this. I'm gonna run through some of the Susie. I appreciate that. DK Hall, I appreciate you throwing yourself on your sword like that. There needs to be a law made that no one with felonies can be president, which would exclude me. Yeah, the whole post-impeachment exclusion, high crimes and misdemeanors thing needs to be codified into law that, yeah, there needs to be some more limitations put on who runs for president. Renita, thank you, Texas Paul. Love facts, the truth, and education. I appreciate you, Renita. I really do. I appreciate y'all being here. Nancy Beck, good question. Are you concerned at all about red states, Texas specifically, becoming individual fascist states and unlivable for liberals, running out of liberals? No, no, I am not. Because let me tell you a little something about Texas. People are always so surprised. Oh, I'm glad to see somebody from Texas talking the way you do. There are more people in Texas like me than there are the loudmouths you hear from. Maggots are loud. They are. They're just loud people. And the fact that they are loud gives people a misunderstanding of my state. Most people in my state are just good and decent people. They are. And I have made it my mission. First was starting the Ride or Die Democrats. I've made it my mission to get people to open their mouths more, fight back harder, be just as mean as Republicans are. And it's working, folks. It is working. 10 years ago, it was not like this. These shows did not exist 10 years ago. They do now. They do now. And that change is epic. It will change the future of our country. Naomi, best of luck in your new endeavor to Texas, Paul, and Mississippi. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And thank you for the support. Benjamin, thank you for the support, bud. I really appreciate it. $20 is a lot of money, and I know it, folks. I'm very grateful. G.R. Johnson, true indeed. One team human, one team, one fight, freedom, the basic foundation to build one world. What he's talking about there is globalism. And I have to tell you, folks, globalism is a good thing. Right wingers hate it because to be what right wingers are today, they're hateful, racist, awful selves. You have to carve off a little section of people and set them against everyone else. Globalism will reduce wars. Globalism will reduce the ability for fascists to exist and operate. It's a good thing, folks. It really is a good thing. Lena Caruso, don't underestimate Mitch McConnell. If Trump is the nominee, he will smear Biden, knowing if voters do not like both candidates, they will stay home. That is a political tactic. It is. Make it ugly enough that people don't want to participate. That is a common tactic. But I do believe, and I'd love to see from you folks in the chat over here, do you believe that? Are you going to stay home? no matter what happens. I mean, I know everybody I talk to is 100% ride or die. They understand. If you're a ride or die Democrat, let me see in the comments just a blue heart, skulls. That's what the insignia of the ride or die Democrats is blue hearts and skulls. Will you be voting no matter what? G.R. Johnson, glad to hear it, man. Loudon, South Texas, retired military. And it's the military, the veterans that are speaking up the loudest. And I'm so proud isn't the word. I don't know the right word. Proud of veterans for the way that they're taking a look at the stuff that DeSantis is doing and all of these Greg Abbott's doing, and they're saying no way, no how, this is not what I fought for, and they're speaking up the loudest, and I'm really proud of them. Keep leading the way. Keep leading the way. Allie Evans, thank you for doing what you do. You have popped up on all my feeds, and I'm so appreciative. Yeah, we're getting big, Allie. We're getting big. We're getting big everywhere. Yeah, there's my ride or die Democrats. There they are. If anybody doesn't know what a ride or die Democrat is, it's really simple, folks. It's really simple. There's no membership fee. There's no organization that you have to sign up. Get out there and press the flesh. Talk to voters. I'm doing that next weekend. I will be the East Texas Democratic Caucus. I will be out there helping them raise money. I'll be out there talking to them. That I do, honey. If you're going to pop those up, you also have to pop them back down. That's my producer, Mrs. Texas Paul, helping me out there. She caught that one from Benaloco. I appreciate it. But what I was saying about ride or die Democrats, you see the blue hearts and the skulls. That's how you signify yourself as a ride or die Democrat. There's no form to fill out. There's no fee to be a member. It's really simple. All you have to do is believe in this one thing. You have to believe one, you have to be a Democrat. Two, you have to fight for what you believe in. We are a big tent party. We are the big tent party. There are conservative Democrats and there are communist Democrats. You fight for what you believe in the primaries. You fight for the candidates that you believe in the primary. And you push like hell for your beliefs. But when that primary is over, if my candidate wins, you support my candidate. If your candidate wins, I support your candidate because the Democratic Party is the way to go in the future. It is the only party left standing that has real values, that really represents what people in this country want. And that's what it means to be a ride or die Democrat. And the way you identify yourself as a ride or die Democrat is in your bios. Put in ride or die Democrat with blue hearts and skulls. When you put a post out, I mean, look at all these blue hearts and skulls. Look at all these. I mean, just all over the chat. Those are your ride or die Democrats right there. And if you're at an event and you hear me talk, one of the first things I'm going to say is, "Where's my ride or die Democrats at?" And I want to hear your voice. Doesn't that make sense, folks? Doesn't that make sense? And when that election is over and you've supported that person that wasn't your first choice and they are in office as a ride or die Democrat, you don't quit. You don't quit. You keep fighting for your beliefs with that person. You call their office. You let them know what you want. That's how we get it done, folks. That's how we get it done. That's how we make our country a better place. For the longest time, these Republicans, we brought this on ourselves for decades. They called us every name in the book, and we didn't fight back. We didn't. We were high-minded and said that politics is beneath our country. We're not going to engage in that, and we let them. Folks, that shows weakness, and people follow strength even if it's not right. That's why we have this huge segment of white guys that have their heads full of crap because for decades they sat in their dump trucks, they sat in the equipment that they operated on, the assembly line they worked on, in their police cars, fire trucks, fire stations, nursing stations. They sat there listening to people like Rush Limbaugh fill their heads full of crap. And we Democrats did not fight back. And that's what I'm doing right here, right now, today. These shows have blossomed. People like me, like Hal Sparks, like Tony Michaels, the Midas Network, because we're fighting back, folks. We're down to just a few minutes. Let's get a couple more good comments in there. There you go. Joy Hain. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's all local. This is real, folks. This isn't just me sitting here talking to you. This right here, Joy Hine. We flipped my district in Southwest Washington that was a plus 12 Republican district. That's what we're talking about. Amen. Riding with Biden, baby. Riding with Biden. Oh, and on a little side note, these are going to be available soon. And if the fact that it's orange and looks like it's decaf bothers you, there'll be a black one available also. T-shirts, everything. Mrs. Texas Paul is handling the merchandising. It'll all be available soon. Hey, right now, use this. I will help you with this every time, Linda Blanton. Anybody, if you've got meetings and stuff like that, where you're fighting a good fight. Anyone in the Dallas Fort Worth area, we are meeting for lunch today at 1 p.m. That's a little over an hour from now in Arlington at Gloria's Restaurant. Please come for good food and good conversation. There you go. There you go. If you're in the DFW area, head over to Gloria's, man, in Arlington. Regina, this is a good one to leave it on. Leaving it to you younger folks. I served with my body, and now people are safer if I just stay in the woods. We beat the Republicans every election in New York. Yeah, that next generation. Take your kids. Take your kids to these meetings. Take your kids. I take my grandkids to these meetings, to these rallies. Next weekend, I will. I'll be talking to the East Texas Democratic Caucus, getting them fired up, helping them raise some money, getting their candidates fired up. It's a candidate meeting. I don't just talk the talk, folks. I walk the walk, and I want you to do the same. Share these videos, bring people to this audience. Let's get it done. Evie's aunt, I can't get near coffee. I inherited the gene that makes coffee smell like skunk from my mom. That's okay. There's always tea. There's always hot chocolate. Blue peony. I'm sorry. Peony, beautiful flower. My father took me to a political meeting when I was a child. There you go. There you go. Yeah, you hand it down generation to generation. You damn right I do, been a local. That's how I end up keep getting COVID and RSV. I've had both twice this year. I'm telling you, you got to get out there and you got to get it done. You got to get it done. But be smarter than me. Wash your hands and quit hugging people. I'm too much of a hugger, folks. It kills me every time. Mrs. Texas Paul, thank you very much. And I do not call her Mrs. Texas Paul to be a chauvinistic jackass. She chose that moniker because she's a private person, and I respect that. Please take a minute to hit that like button. It costs nothing but helps. Yes, it does. If you can right now, hit the subscribe button. I watched YouTube. I say this all the time. I watched YouTube videos for years. There's so much on YouTube. So much. I mean, every time I go to work on a car, I will go back and watch a YouTube video. Somebody else has already dealt with this and made a video about it. You can see where the clips are inside a door, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. If I've got a question about a product, go to YouTube. But I watched for years technical advice when I was setting up my streaming platform. Almost all my technical advice came from YouTube, but I used to never hit the subscribe button. And that's insane. It costs you nothing. They shouldn't call it a subscribe button. They should call it a follow button because that's all it really is. You're not going to end up with a subscription to a magazine and kind of like a magazine or anything like that. It doesn't cost you anything, never gets in your wallet. All it does is it allows you to find my content. When you log into YouTube, if I've got something new out there, a new video, boom, it'll be available there for you. If you find a guy that gives you good technical advice on your computers, boom, it'll be right there. If your hobby is gardening and you follow people, with whatever you like, it's right there. So reach down and hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing, and it's very useful to you, but it pushes me up on the algorithm, and I am so grateful for that. Well, folks, it's been another wonderful day. I cannot believe how fast this blew by. LB, YouTube saved me $40,000 fixing my own house. So much good advice on here. Absolutely, LB. That's what I'm talking about, folks. That's what I'm talking about. And folks, we're a community here. This isn't about me. This is about us. If you use the chat, you don't have to always be on topic of what we're talking about. Use our chat. You find something cool, link it. I'm not like other creators where I'm going to be, oh, they're linking stuff. They're going to leave my show. No. You're welcome to link things in my chat. You find something cool, something interesting. Y'all find things that y'all like to do. Those discussions fire up in chat. Great. 100% great. Well, folks, we have run over and it has been a lot of fun. I want y'all to have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Sunday. Get out and do something that makes you smile. So Texas Paul out. See you Wednesday.